Hello everyone, my name is Al. Welcome to Cinefi Al. Today I'm going to be taking you on my second writing vlog. Please ignore this wall over here. It is kind of a work in progress at the moment, and by that I mean 99% of the things that were on the wall are now off of the wall, and I have to replace things so it doesn't look like the Grinch stole Christmas. Since we last spoke, I definitely have a much better grasp of what the plot is going to be for this story. Tonight I'm actually hopefully going to be finishing up a chapter and then working on really fleshing out the outline of the next coming chapters, because I have very brief plot points for all of, if not most of the chapters, but I definitely want to get my kind of brain wrapped around the fact that this is going to have to be like a 90,000 to a 150,000 page book. I'm aiming for 100,000 just because I personally don't like reading books that are really long, but because of the genre, I do have to flesh out magic systems, the world we're in, characters, etc. And because of that, obviously the length is longer. I hope you enjoy and come along with me writing. So I think an interesting thing about writing a book for the first time is kind of having to have this acceptance. Like, I talked about this briefly in my last video, but having this acceptance that's kind of like, nobody's really probably going to read this, and this book probably isn't going to be published, right? And I'm fine with that, but it's also like a hard burden to reconcile that, like, I say burden, I don't actually mean that I'm like keeping myself up at night or that this is the end of the world for me. Like I'm going to school for something outside of being an author, so it's not like this is my future income, hopefully. It's just something that I really would like to do, and I would love to be an author, and I would be absolutely floored if I ever became a published author. But it's so fun, like coming up with these little stories that are like just yours is amazing, but the thought of one day like even finishing this and just sharing it with friends is really exciting to me and also very scary to me. So I think that I have to like come to terms with the fact that even if nobody reads it at a large scale, I'll be reading it and I'll probably give copies to my very close friends for them to read. So that's still something. That's still me creating this little story that people are going to consume. So I have to just get myself in the mindset that's like, I can get to the finish line. Because right now, sorry if you hear my chair squeak, by the way, it's pretty old office chair. Right now, I'm at 7,709 words in the main manuscript draft. So this is from the beginning to where I currently am in chapter 3, 7,709 words. The first chapter is relatively brief. I feel like I personally enjoy a shorter first chapter because it hopefully gets you kind of drawn into what you're reading and invested in what you're reading. And then the second chapter is around 2,000 something, close to 3,000 words. I'm trying to hit that same benchmark or a little longer for this chapter that I'm writing right now. And then, as I said, once I'm done with this chapter and this POV, I will be hopefully outlining a little bit, so that's exciting. It's gotten to the point where I'm actually very excited about things that I came up with. I do also have a few like 2,000 to 3,000, I think like a 100 word, a 1,000 word little snippets of later chapters that I had in my brain, and I was like, I need to just spit these out somewhere so they don't get lost forever. And I think I did that pretty well. I mean, they're definitely going to have to be edited heavily for plot, and also just like, I'm sure character motivations will be slightly different by the time I actually get to that point in the book, especially because quite a few are quite a bit later in the story. But I find that if I don't write something down and I'm like, oh, I'll remember later. No, I will not. I have so much other stuff going on. I had this brilliant idea the other day and I was like, oh, it's fine. I'll remember later. And I went to like go write it down later and I was like, I have quite literally no idea what it was. I'm lucky that this morning I remembered what it was, but like last night, couldn't have told you. It's pretty brutal. So I've been writing a little bit of this chapter, not too much, just like a couple paragraphs. And part of the part I'm writing is this interaction between one of our main characters and his current love interest, but she's not going to be the love interest for him in the final portion of the story, and I feel like she's only going to be the love interest, honestly, for like the first 5 or 6 chapters, maybe even less. I don't want it to be a relationship that people are rooting for, but I don't want to villainize either of the people in the relationship. I kind of want it to be like a sudden but amicable split between the two of them. And I want it to be like, okay, I get it. Like, they're in their final year of university. My characters are, they're like 21, 22. And to me personally, I feel like a lot of relationships end the last year of high school or the last year of college. College less so, but these characters and how I'm hopefully going to write them, it's going to seem like, yeah, this is never going to last outside of college. And they'd only been together for like the past 2 years. It's not like they've been together the entire time. I think it'll make sense. It's just that I feel like we rarely see characters in relationships, like romantic relationships, in the beginning of the book where they don't end up with that person and that they don't really talk to that person for various reasons that I will later be writing. I also think that hopefully it will be satisfying enough to the reader. Love to randomly have this happen while I'm writing. What? So it is the next day. It's around like a late lunchtime. I'm actually probably going to go get lunch soon. So there might not be much immediate filming content. But I just thought I would check in with y'all. Last night I ended up not really fully completing what I wanted to. The chapter is gonna be a little bit longer than I thought, so I was like, well, I'll just finish my thought and then start fresh today. One thing that I want to do is finish up that chapter today. I don't know if I'll get any planning done, but I would really like to finish up that chapter. I'm not struggling, I would say. I wouldn't say I'm struggling, but I would say that I'm kind of getting tired, if that makes sense. Like, part of me just wishes I could snap my fingers and not actually have to write it and just have the words down on the page, which is a feeling I'm assuming that many writers might feel. But I love the actual writing process. I'm just, getting to that point where it's like, okay, I gotta make sure to include this detail here so later it all makes sense. And I'm like, ugh, but when can we get to later? You know what I mean? This is my, really messy desk setup, by the way, in case you are curious. Hello. So, it is a few days later. I don't have much footage from the past couple of days because I have been busy. Yesterday is a really long day for me. I ended up actually finishing the chapter that I wanted to get done on Wednesday evening, I believe. And on Thursday morning, I thought of an idea that I think is probably realistically a disaster, but also might give me some good motivation. I basically had this like spur of the moment idea, like, what if I did a prequel for this book? Firstly, kind of setting me up for disaster because I don't even think this book is ever going to get traditionally published, but if it did, the chances of it being popular enough to have a prequel are probably low. However, I think it's a fun little thing to look forward to, and I think that having little references to things that could happen in the prequel would be really fun. And so I'm going to include that. However, I do not think that that information would be useless and pointless. It serves a point in the narrative of this story. So I think that, like, even if that is never a thing that can happen, I don't think it's like taking away from the story I'm currently writing at all. That being said, I kind of like spitballed a few ideas that I thought would be fun to do in a prequel and kind of the style that I would want to write the book in. Overall, I think writing was actually a pretty good success. I got a lot of still unanswered plot kind of figured out. I finished the chapter. The chapter ended up being way longer than I expected, but I'm glad for. My goal is to have each chapter between 3,500 words and 5,500 words. This one was almost 4,000 words, and I still have to reread it and see if I want to add anything else or change something, so that could go up a little bit. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with what I got done in this writing vlog. If you enjoyed watching this, please like this video, leave a comment down below, tell me about what you're working on, if you can relate to anything that I mentioned in this video, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you, I love you, goodbye!